Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all having an amazing night. I'm glad you could join me here. And before I jump into tonight's topic, I would like to invite all of you to like, subscribe, comment after the video. I would love to hear your input on everything, and make sure you hit that notification bell because I'm going to be putting up a lot more stuff coming up. If I can, almost every night. That's what my aim is for, to try and have something regularly going and build a community here, because I think we all need that in this day and age. So I'm going to jump right into the topic of tonight's video, which is 4 habits that you really, really need to be cultivating that will help you with your personal growth and just dealing with stuff. Some of this is things that I've learned. I try to lean heavily on personal experience, or things that other people that have come before me have been very willing to share with me and help me learn these lessons in life as well. So I guess the first one I would start with is being able to be calm during adversity. When things are just going completely haywire in your life and nothing seems to be working right, and you notice that everybody's in panic mode around you, let's say an emergency happens or something's going on, cultivating the ability to remain calm in the middle of all the chaos is absolutely important, because it will reflect and train you and condition you, really, to be able to handle upcoming problems and storms in your life without having basically a moment of freaking out and losing your mind. And it also helps to cultivate the habit of just making sure that when you do have these things come at you, that you're able to handle them in a very relaxed way that allows you to think clearly, which is something that, I think, especially as we get into the younger generations, that's just not something that's cultivated anymore. But it's so absolutely necessary, because when you are not making decisions under duress, but you are staying calm and you are staying focused and you're refusing to budge with the adversity going on around you. And this doesn't just have to be something like an emergency situation. This could apply to anything. Let's say arguments are happening, or somebody's trying to have an argument with you, which would be much more likely for this to occur. Learning how to calmly address what they're doing, calmly address whatever it is that they're saying, face it, and be able to articulate what you think, be straightforward, and think through your responses. And if you don't have a legitimate response at the time, stay calm and quiet. Just let them see your silence and let them see that you're taking in what they're saying. Even if they're losing complete control and screaming and cursing at you, if you're just sitting there calmly, quietly, stoically, looking at them, taking in what they're saying, either listening to their opinion, or in some cases, you're allowing them to make a fool of themselves. Whatever the case is, if you refuse to allow yourself to be shaken by what's going on, it's going to cultivate and change things on the inside of you in ways that you can't possibly imagine, but it is oh so important. Now, as I go on to the next point, it's going to kind of segue from this into the next one. The next one is knowing really when to walk away. And this is a tricky one, because sometimes when you're listening to somebody arguing with you or being difficult with you, or you might be in a relationship situation, you might be in a business situation or something with a family member, you have to identify when something is at an impasse and you are at the furthest point that you will ever get with that individual. You see, in my life, my relationships, I'm able to determine, just by dealing with people over a period of time, just what level of honesty I can have with them. How much can they actually handle? Like, the level of honesty and the level of truth and openness that you can have with people, and the level of trust that you can open up to them, is entirely determined by how they behave, how they're demonstrating themselves with you, and you then know how far you can go into trust with those people. And everybody has a different level. Some of them are much more, some of them are acquaintances that I wouldn't trust, but so far, just because they've shown with their life and their choices and the way that they handle things in life situations, that I really can't trust them beyond a certain point. And that's completely okay, because you can't fix them. The only thing you can do is take care of yourself. The only problem you can really ever work on is you. So when it comes to dealing with that situation and knowing when essentially to walk away, some people give you a point of impasse to where there just isn't anything you really can do besides leave the situation, get free and clear of it. Whether it is a family member, a romantic relationship, whether or not it's a work relationship. I've had this happen in all of those situations where it just gets to a point where you realize you're never going to be able to reason with this individual. Like you've attempted to create some sort of a bridge of reason and logical discourse with this individual or individuals, and you realize they're either not out for your best interest, which, let's face it, most people really aren't out for your best interest, but these people definitely are going to be sabotaging anything that you're doing. They're going to sabotage your forward growth. They can't be reasoned with, and they can't have a peaceful coexistence in your life with the goals and things that you wish to accomplish within a measure of reason, because no one's going to ever be 100% on board, but some are going to be so far off the mark that you just can't keep them around. It would be impossible to have them coexist and work together with what you're doing, and you just have to know and sense when you reach that breaking point, when you discover that point with somebody and you realize this isn't going to happen. I actually had a friend from years ago that I ended up having to cut him off because I realized, there was a level of instability, a level of being unable to be honest with himself about some of the issues that were going on and why in the world he was acting certain ways towards me and other people in my life. And I realized, the only way the drama and the insanity is going to ever subside with this is I'm going to have to put this person pretty much out of my life completely, block them and remove them everywhere. And it wasn't because I was doing it vindictively or out of anger or cruelty. I just realized they're going to get in the way of everything that I'm doing. And there will be people like that in your life. And you have to identify when they've reached that point of no return where it's just done. And you don't even have to tell them sometimes. Sometimes quiet quitting is the best way, simply because you might attempt to have a conversation with them just to have them lash out and get incredibly furious with you. And you have to determine that for yourself. Some people you're never even going to be able to have that conversation with. They'll just want to suck you right back into the drama through means of that conversation. And when you identify them like that and realize that's who they are and that's what they're going to do, get out. Get out. No point in having a conversation with somebody that does not listen to you. So I'm going to get to the third point here. I got my little notes. This is something that's been tough for me. Many of you might have started to experience really learning this, and I mean really learning it, because it is a mental exercise that is incredibly difficult to do, and that is treating every single loss you have as a lesson, as a learning opportunity in your life. I've had times where I've attempted to do certain types of things with business, with film work that I've done, working with certain people and individuals, where I eventually realized not only is this not going to work out, but you inevitably feel that letdown of, oh, wow, this is such a disappointment. I can't believe this didn't work out. What in the world happened? Even if you carefully planned it and you did everything you could, it becomes very, very easy to get disenfranchised with everything and just really kind of sink into a depression almost over it when you begin to realize that certain things don't work out, and they're just not going to. And some of those things, despite your best laid plans, your best efforts, are even beyond your reach or control. So what you can do from those things is learn to cultivate the understanding and the discipline that you are going to learn from those experiences. If you get burned by certain experiences with certain individuals, what can you change to kind of safeguard yourself to some degree? If you get burned by something in business, could you have done it different? Maybe it was just something that was never going to work. Learning to accept the loss as something that's a learning opportunity is incredibly difficult. I discovered in business over time I've done work with contracting over the years, that when people give me certain tells where they're hesitant to put the down payments on certain things, where they're hesitant to sign certain things on contracts, when they're hesitant to deal with me a certain way, look me in the eye, shake my hand, and just that there are certain tells that they give off, to treat it with a level of sort of almost like heightened security in a way. When you realize that you're dealing with that, I've learned over the years that when I've identified those red flags and markers, that I need to treat those things as if they're very serious. And so that's what I started doing, and I started to notice that I had a lot less losses actually happening in my business, and I learned that from losses that had happened before. If somebody is in any way devious, they're dodging anything, if they're avoiding payment schedules, if they're avoiding signing certain things. And you might say, well, Steve, those things are obvious. Well, sometimes it doesn't always come off as completely obvious. Sometimes you have to trust your gut with those things. But you begin to learn to spot patterns of things that don't work in your life, and you have to accept that you're learning that from losses that have happened. And the losses are a big factor in learning. I've heard people say that you could teach entire courses on how to grow simply by having 50% of it be about losses that have happened. And my final point, the final habit that I would say that you really need to cultivate, is working on yourself on a daily basis. And this could range from a number of different things, from whether it's a side hustle, your business or your job or whatever it is that you're trying to succeed or work at, something that's more of a hobby that you maybe want to have go mainstream. Maybe it's relationships that you want to work on, trying to have there be more honesty, which of course it's a little bit of a different dynamic. There's some things in that you just can't control, as I mentioned in some of the other points tonight. But learning to work on yourself and cultivate yourself is such a huge, huge deal. You have to be able to spend time doing that every day, and try to adjust your schedule and your environment to allow for something like that to happen. You have to set aside that time. Like, even as I make videos, I make sure that every single day there is time for me to cultivate my thoughts, research what I'm going to do, set things up, place it, arrange it in a way to where I'm going to be able to actually sit down, articulate my thoughts, talk to you guys, and get things out there in a way that actually, hopefully to some degree makes some kind of sense. It's one of those things where working on yourself, becoming, like in that particular instance, better at speaking, especially when you're talking to a camera and you're not actually speaking to a live individual who's sitting right in front of you, and you can read their expressions and how they're reacting. It's one of those things that you cultivate in anything that you do. And this particular type of habit could be applied to just about anything, but most often it's applied to things that are going to better you in life, whether or not it's trying to hit the gym and work on yourself physically, whether or not it's trying to change your diet and trying to cut things out that aren't particularly good for you, whether or not it's working, as I said, on a side hustle or a business or something that you want to grow and develop. Set aside time to work on yourself, because that will shape all your relationships. Everything else that's going on in your life is going to be shaped entirely by your work ethic and setting aside time to work on yourself and cultivate discipline within yourself. That's probably the most important point out of everything tonight, because the other things being more in the negative of things that you could remove or maybe learn from. But this is something that is so utterly important when it comes to just your personal growth and development. Something that I've tried to learn over the years too. You have to spend your time cultivating and just growing yourself on a personal level. And the discipline, the learning how to do things that you don't know how to do, spending time reading, spending time, if you have a inkling to, which is something I've done, I've actually written a book before, writing, learning how to write, which was something that was an incredible learning process for me when I was learning how to actually write. It was a 300-page novel that was basically Christian fiction that I had written several years ago, and I've written other books that were prequels and sequels to it. And the incredible process of just learning how other authors learn to write and reading their material, which was huge in me learning the process, was reading how they structured their paragraphs, their sentences, how they described things. Everything about that just took time, just took cultivating it. And I was doing it on a regular basis constantly. So eventually, in the end, that whole journey was a growth for me that wasn't just about learning how to write a book. It wasn't just about learning how to put paragraphs together that when you then turn around and read them out loud back to yourself, everything comes together in a well-written, well-spoken way. It was about how it changed me. That type of personal development and growth that I took time for and turned into a habit of doing was a huge difference. I mean, I eventually got to a point where I couldn't tell you most stuff about most types of sports because I don't really have time to follow it. I couldn't tell you what most people binge watch on TV because I just don't really have the time to do it. I'm spending more time doing other things, and those are things that just eventually kind of got pushed out because I was focused on, I need to grow me as a person. I need to cultivate my personal growth and development. So anyway, that is pretty much all I have for tonight. Like I said before, make sure you subscribe, like, drop some comments below. I want to hear what you have to say, and make sure to hit the notification bell because we got a lot more videos coming your way, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you all, and let's make this a community. Let's do this. I hope you all have a great night. I'm going to talk to you soon.